Top 5 worst owners in sports. I don't know why I got inspired for this one.
Yeah,
no idea.
It's a giveaway.
Not, I mean, sometimes you just got to ride topics. Number 5, and a couple of these are in the same region. Number 5, Peter Angelos of the Baltimore Orioles. The Angelos family has assured the Orioles will stay in Baltimore, but pretty much will not assure them that they will play well there. They've been, just kind of there for 20-plus years now. Since Jeffrey Mayer helped Derek Jeter hit a home run over Tony Tarasco, it's been all downhill for the Baltimore Orioles, and the Angelos family has seemingly no gumption to get up and go do something. I mean, in the AL East, I know it's tough, but man, the Orioles are such a forgotten franchise when it comes to being in contention.
For a guy my age, it is hard to. It's not hard because I'm 63. I've seen it all, but man, when I was growing up, living in Virginia, Dad was at the Pentagon. They were running baseball. They in Pittsburgh, and of course the Mets beat them in the series. They had the great pitching staff, and they've had teams since then too. But man, it's different now. It's so different now. They are just bad.
Well, yeah, there's family infighting. There's a whole lawsuit going on. There's a talk about relocation and moving them to Tennessee, and that got halted. And then you have one family member saying, we'll never leave Baltimore. And quite frankly, I guess diehard Orioles fans care, but outside of that, who does? Really, they are irrelevant as all get out. They are not any – whatever the opposite of top of mind is, that's what the Orioles are in the grand scheme of things.
They have this beautiful ballpark, Camden Yards. At the second year, they had over 3 million fans. In 18 and 19, prior to COVID, 1.5 million, 1.3 million is their attendance, which was 14th among all teams in the American League.
Oh, my gosh. That's just nuts.
Well, yeah, they wanted to move them to Tennessee, or one of the family members did, which, that's been talked about as a spot for baseball expansion in one of those cities, along with Charlotte and some of the other spots that have been brought up. But, that's not going to happen. But, yeah, that's just – they're there. That's what they are. They're there.
Yes, that's the worst thing you can say about a team. They're there.
But it is. It's just what they are. They're there.
They won the World Series, of course, in 1970, lost in 69 and 71, but they were constantly knocking on the door. Pretty good in the 70s. 83, won the World Series, and there's been 5 appearances in the playoffs since then, since 1983.
And they have, two of the most, Brooks Robinson, Jim Palmer was really famous too, but Cal Ripken, for a guy who grew up when I was beloved. The guy every baseball fan loved.
Brooks Robinson, Frank Robinson, Jim Palmer, obviously Cal Ripken Jr., you mentioned him as well. Earl Weaver.
Yeah, I loved Earl Weaver. He was crazy. Number 4, Bob Nutting, the Pittsburgh Pirates owner. There's a back-to-back baseball owners. Built them a new stadium, got that done in Pittsburgh. But then since then, what have they done? Just kind of one of those owners is checked out when it comes to the day-to-day and making big personnel decisions that'll help him make personnel decisions, like hiring GMs that are going to stay there a while, managers are going to stay there a while. Pittsburgh, another team that, with a fan base, and the thing I say about this one, which, Baltimore Oriole fans probably not as famous, but Pittsburgh sports fans are loyal to a fault. They love it. They want it bad. So most of the owners in this category fall into, they're owners of teams and cities that care super a lot. I know that's kind of weird to say, but they care a lot and not do anything about it.
I didn't even know he owned them.
Yeah. Okay.
There's another team that back in the day, the glory days, was Pittsburgh.
Yeah. Let's go ahead to number 3 because I want Craig's opinion on this. Jimmy Haslam, Cleveland Browns, has enabled a team to trade for a guy who's going to get suspended and give him the biggest contract in NFL history. Not to mention they've been all in all bad except for 1 year that he's owned them. There's culture problems that he's been accused of. And again, they're by the grace of Daniel Snyder, Jimmy Haslam probably gets a lot of the stuff that'd be going on with Daniel Snyder right now because the Browns organization is a mess. It's an absolute mess and has been. And, hey, we're going to go big and get Deshaun Watson. Great. Is he going to play? Is the NFL going to suspend him? Is that something, a PR decision that you want to make? Jimmy Haslam's fine with it.
Yeah,
and they look like they were turning the corner.
Yeah, they kind of did. And who knows? I mean, with Deshaun Watson and whatever that situation is going to turn out to be. I mean, they've been basically a laughingstock franchise my entire life. So going on close to, closer to 40 years now than the other way. But I mean, they're the butt of the joke all the time, every time, and always pretty much have been. And the only times they haven't been in my entire existence was here recently, although not the most recent, obviously, but a couple years ago. And then maybe a couple of spots in between from the mid 1980s to now. But other than that, they are the team that are just the kind of the laughing stock. Yeah. And it was cool to see them actually get some momentum. And then they go and they sign Deshaun Watson. And so, like I said the other day, of all the teams that were going to do some deal like that, it would be the Cleveland Browns that were going to do that. Like the Dallas Cowboys have had their own fair share of dumb decisions, or any other team you want to point to, but they're not doing that dumb of a decision to give $200 freaking plus million guaranteed to a dude with 50 freaking lawsuits filed against, or allegations or what have you. And I understand just yesterday he settled like 20 of 24 or whatever. But you gave that dude who had to settle 20 of 24 lawsuits $200 plus million guaranteed. Like, how insane is that? Who would, like, what kind of sense is that? But that's the Cleveland Browns. Like, they're one of only a handful of teams that would have done something that extreme with as much of a potential bust in your face, like blow up in your face type of a risk. Of course it was them. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah. Number two, and these next two, I think, are the two fan bases that love their teams the most, that get the least out of their owners. James Dolan, New York Knicks. I mean, New York is the basketball mecca. The Knicks are... the Nets are a Johnny-come-lately to that. The Knicks are the city's team. Their stadium is in the heart of the city. Madison Square Garden is the place you want to be if you're basketball or entertainment or something. It is a glorious place to be, to do anything in the kind of entertainment world and sports. But James Dolan, for some reason, cannot figure out that maybe the team that lives there and has 41 games a year might need to be an attraction to it.
Another one of those, what used to be.
And he's got like a cover band.
Apparently. He's definitely got like a band that's been pretty well known. He's talked about it and promoted it. And actually, I think there was something involving the Knicks, I think, and yet he had like a concert he had to play. It was something stupid like that, or that he booked himself to be like I don't remember, because I don't care about James Dolan. But yeah, there's plenty of Knicks fans who are like I am with Daniel Snyder. Is like, as soon as James Dolan's no longer the owner, I'll go back to being a big Knicks fan. But so long as he is, you're not going to get my 100%. And that's how I feel about Washington under Dan Snyder. But yeah, I hear nothing but bad things about James Dolan. If it's not just some decision that he's made, it's just in general, Knicks fans seem to be frustrated with him. But yeah, it's kind of cringe. Like, I get having the band and all that. Hey, do what you do. But like, at this point, when you are the owner of the Knicks and you've got all those other projects and everything going on, like, dude, run the Knicks and then worry about your music career that's not going anywhere, quite frankly. And we all know it's not going anywhere. This is all just feeding whatever attention that you need as your musician dream, starts to not have as many days left in it potentially as you grow older, or whatever this thing he's trying to live is. Run the Knicks, dude. That's where your bread and butter is. Run the Knicks.
Here's what I would ask James Dolan. Is anybody in the world going, hey, we're going to see this band. Who's in it? The owner of the Knicks?
Yeah, come on.
No.
No, I can't imagine there's much of an audience for that.
A lot of our fans, by the way, going back to earlier in the list, Orioles and Pirates. Yes, please bring back the Pirates of the 70s. Clemente was my favorite player.
Mark Cuban was asked about that. Right? He's talked before because, obviously he's got billions of dollars, and there was, he's a Pittsburgh guy, and so there was some thought about him, expanding his empire. I think he was asked recently of whether or not he'd be interested in owning the Pirates, and he said absolutely not. For whatever reasons, I don't know, but I know he was quoted in the last couple of years of at least having some level of respect for, I think he's like complimentary of like their farm system, and said like, maybe it's not as bad as people make it out to be, but I don't know, man. They're pretty irrelevant at the moment.
Yeah. And number one, who takes the cake? You say what you will about James Dolan. He's not dodging congressional subpoenas, or not subpoenas yet, but a request. and going off in his boat to France. Daniel Snyder, Washington Commanders, maybe the worst owner in the history of sports all time. And I will include the guy who owned the San Antonio Gunslingers.
What about the guy that owned the Clippers?
Oh, Donald Sterling, yeah. That's pretty bad. He is now in the Donald Sterling Hall of Shame with the San Antonio Gunslingers of the old USFL. The bank was in, like, the facility was in one part of San Antonio, and the bank that he had the accounts that the checks were on was in Bernie. And when he would hand them the checks, there was like a mad dash to the bank to cash it before you couldn't get it. But Dan Snyder, oh boy, it's just, I mean, watch the news and tell me what good he's done for the Washington franchise, the NFL, the community, anything. And right now, he's got to a point, which is why I'm kind of surprised the NFL hasn't started to turn on him. They don't want to build a new stadium for him. And that is pretty much a given in some of these fan bases that it would happen. They don't, like, the politicians don't really want anything to do with him. So it's...
Can't imagine why.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, going back to James Dolan for a second, we were talking towards the end of the show yesterday about Jalen Brunson and the fact that, he's got big free agent money coming his way, even if the thought is he'll stay in Dallas. And you're like, we're kind of going back a little further, how stupid that would be for Jalen Brunson to go to the Knicks and how stupid it would be for the Knicks to pay him, like, max money, because my whole thing is they're still run by James Dolan. Like, you going and signing Jalen Brunson to a major, massive deal, it's not going to take you anywhere. Him staying in Dallas with Luka and Mark Cuban, they might actually scratch a championship. Hell, they were one round away from it this year already. But, I mean, that would be a Knicks move, in my opinion, which is why I was talking about what I was talking about yesterday. I mean, until you get the owner out of the way, I don't think there's really much you can do to really turn around their fortunes. But, yeah, same thing with Washington. I mean, I don't know. My lasting memories from the Daniel Snyder era are like, RG3's career-ending injuries and the crappy field and just disappointment after disappointment, not being able to find a quarterback. How about the fact that you had two quarterbacks you had Kirk Cousins as your backup quarterback to Robert Griffin III, who could not walk, and yet Shanahan had him out there playing. But Kirk Cousins, one of the highest-paid quarterbacks in the league, was a backup on your roster at that time, but you thought, let's just end RG3's career anyways. Like, screw it. I don't know. I was thinking about that last night, and it just bugged the mess out of me. But, I mean, Snyder's garbage. I think his track record speaks for itself on and off the field. And I can't stand rooting for a team that has him presiding over it. I just don't like it.
I have to tell one quick story. And Smokey, you know this because you've covered Cowboys games. The food spread that Jerry Jones puts out is ridiculous.
You've said this before.
It's opulent. But if people haven't heard this story, so when the Washington media comes in to cover Cowboys games, they're enthralled, especially those who are most critical of Dan Snyder, because if you have written too many critical Dan Snyder pieces, he's directed you to be put in a bunker underneath the stadium and not in the main press box, and he gives you, instead of a media buffet, he gives you like a coupon to get a hot dog or something like that, and they have to go wait in line. I can tell you, you're not a good owner. Jerry Jones.
But just because Jerry does that doesn't mean he's a great owner.
But Robert Kraft and all these other guys, if you don't have other big problems, if you're worrying about that stuff, you're not doing well.
Well, he seems like that, based on some of the testimony today, or some of what we saw today, the little things, including trying to set up his own little basic, what almost seems like a sting operation against those he was paranoid of.
Well,
all right.
We got to mention one more time.